she said, I'm a peer recovery support specialist, and first we're going to talk about what recovery is. And we define recovery as the strive to improve their health and wellness, resiliency, and reach their full potential through self-directed actions. But recovery is vital to your programs because with first episode programs, recovery is the goal, obviously. And when a person first comes to the clinic, they might not be recovery oriented. I know when I first came to my mental health provider, I wasn't ready for change. I wasn't ready for recovery. So they had to be persistent with me and work with my small goals and what was important with me at that time to see that, sorry, I'm not used to slides. Can you advance it? But recovery is the central concept because people can and do recover. Next slide, please. When looking at recovery, the things on the slide are important to address because all of this is part of recovery. It's supported by peers, it's holistic. The main one I wanted to identify is occurs with many pathways. I was saying earlier that recovery isn't linear. And if one person goes a certain way towards their recovery, it doesn't mean another person has to follow that exact same way. Recovery is different for everyone, and as long as they do recover and get better and feel and get to where they want, it doesn't really matter how they got there. And what I wanted to talk about is for the people who deal with more difficult clients. I'm a testament to persistence of teams with individuals who have worked with me and they didn't give up. The persistence is a huge key because if you give up, eventually they'll give up and they'll be like, why should I keep working on my recovery if people don't believe in me? So with that person or that team working with that individual, it's very crucial that they feel like they're heard and respected. Next slide, please. Okay. So strength-based recovery is essential because you have to work with their strengths. You can't just throw them in there and be like, this is what we're doing. It has to be driven by the person who's the client. When working with first episode individuals, really anyone, remember the values of respect and that recovery is person-driven. Recovery is different based on the individual, and it doesn't look the same. For one person, going back to school might look like recovery. For another person, it might be getting a job. For another person, it could be babysitting. It depends on the person because everyone's different, and we do need to recognize that everyone is different. And also we need to remember that there's ups and downs, and everyone has difficulties. For example, school for me, I'm a college student. I say occasionally because school doesn't like me all the time. But when I don't have my financial aid, I could be like, I'm backsliding, I'm not in recovery, I'm doing poorly, but really it's a matter of perspective. Everyone has different perspectives, and they need to realize that it doesn't matter if you're not doing perfect and you're on top of everything. You have to go with the ups and downs of life, and everyone has struggles, whether they're a client or the provider. everyone struggles. So now we're going to talk about the peer support process. And like I said, keep the recovery aspect in mind. So when it's known as a certified peer supporter, but when you are starting to get into this state certification process, you first have to do your 16 hours of online classes, and then you go to the 40-hour in-training class. And after you do your 40 hours in training, you take a test. And if you get a high enough score, then you receive a certificate. Once you receive that certificate, you can turn in the test certificate, your background check, the application for state certification, and other paperwork such as conflict of interest, code of ethics, etc. And then you turn that in, and then you can get your state certification. What was really, really cool about these trainings is I learned a lot. Ask my supervisor, she'll tell you I called her crying because I was so upset at first. Like, one of the things I learned was that addiction is no choice. I literally sat in the class arguing with the people that, like, no, addiction's a choice. These people chose to put the thing in their body. And after the whole conversation of just discussing that and understanding it and learning from their perspective, I realized that addiction isn't a choice and that people are afflicted with that just the way I'm afflicted with a mental health concern. I also realized that culture and spirituality are important to everyone, but different for everyone. Not everyone is the same in their spirituality, and you have to respect the differences. And that was really hard for me because when I was in training and everyone's talking about like the 12-step program and how that worked for them, which is great that it worked for them, I was confused because I'm like, that's not my path. That's not the way I am spiritual. So I had to understand their point of view, and that made it very interesting. Oh, and last but not least, a peer support specialist is someone in recovery with lived experience, whether it's mental health or addiction. So my favorite thing when someone asks me, what is a peer support specialist? They're hope agents and resource brokers. They're mentors, they're role models, advocates, friends, and leaders. They cover all sorts of roles, but most importantly, they're friends and leaders, as well as people who provide hope of recovery. Because these people, they've been in the trenches, they've seen the worst, they've been there because they've been affected by it. So now that they're out of the muck and they're back into life, or whatever you want to call it, now that they're back and recovered, they can provide hope to other people and show that recovery is possible and that anyone can recover. So I'm not going to hit all these points. I do want to stress the importance of self-care for everyone. Not only is it important for peer support specialists, but it's important for the clinicians and the people who are out in the community, because you can't help others when you're not well yourself. So you need to take care of yourself and stress that. And going down to emotions doesn't equal symptoms. Being a peer can be difficult because sometimes people, maybe it's coworkers or someone, they might think that your emotions mean you're symptomatic. Like, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was really, really upset, and I was afraid that my boss was going to see me and think I was being symptomatic. But luckily I had a great boss and she didn't think that. But emotions don't equal symptoms, because everyone has emotions. Everyone has feelings, and it's okay for someone to be upset or happy, and it doesn't mean they're being symptomatic. And hold on, I'm sorry. And we need to identify that everyone expresses their thoughts, their opinions, their feelings, spirituality differently. And you need to respect these differences. If you need clarification on the differences, just ask. It's okay to not know someone's culture or their pronoun or whatever. The key thing is to ask and make sure you show interest and that you care. So why do you guys want to peer? Peers are an important part to a team because they provide a perspective that no one else can provide. They're not here to replace any member of the team. Instead, they enhance the team. They can tell people, hey, this worked for me. Maybe it'll work for them. Or they can provide specific examples of when something didn't help. So they add that perspective that is just super, super valuable. And these links are going to be sent out. The first one is the general peer support information, basically how to get certified, what is a peer support specialist, all that. The second is the initial application. Like I said, there's 2 applications going. So you need to do the initial application to do the training, and then you need to do the second application to do the state certification. And last but not least, the last link is really cool. It's the database of all the certified peer support specialists. Does anyone have any questions?